Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
$11:02. What's going on, everybody? Welcome inside the Lock Shop. Dusty back with you once again. NBA season just around the corner. Hashtag Association City. We'll be talking some NBA hoops as we work our way through the Lock Shop tomorrow and this week. Huss is going to join us. Pat Gregoire is going to be by a little bit later on as well. And, of course, you can text us anytime if you are listening live at Edmonton Sports Talk, crystal clear and static-free since 23, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, and hit us up in the nasty chat as well. Mark is already asking, anyone know of a book that's got updated NHL Hart Trophy odds? So we'll get into that with Connor McDavid being a little bit banged up. There's Huss. I'm back in Edmonton. He's back in Winnipeg. Huss, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I am doing great. It was quite an awesome weekend. Got a chance to have a quick chat with you outside the gate in the airport, which was somewhat hilarious. Dusty literally getting off the flight as I was about to get on. And got a chance to catch up with Iwanek, talk a little shop. Great to get together with him in person and have a few. And then, man, Saturday was amazing. Got to give a shout out to, I know a good friend of yours, Damon Bunting, and the rest of my old pals from our Oilers sales pit days. Had just a great time at the game. And, as they say, I was a little freaked out after that 2-0 lead for the Oilers early on. I've sat through those on the road before. But yeah, the Jets battled back, got it to OT. But of course, the big story afterwards wasn't a matter of the Oilers winning or losing. It was where the heck was McDavid in OT? And I'm sure that was the dominant story today on your program, Dusty.
Well, actually, you would think it was, but actually what really became the story, Huss, was because we were talking about the wave in a 2-2 hockey game. And people were actually accusing you of coming all the way from Winnipeg, starting a wave to jinx the Oilers and getting all of the Oilers crowd on board. They are calling you basically like the wave plant, essentially, set by Winnipeg to Rogers Place. Tell me I'm wrong, Huss, because part of me wants to believe it.
I would love to take credit for that nefarious plan because it worked. But I can tell you, no, it was down in section. I believe it was 129, row 1, and they were relentlessly trying to start the wave with about 6 minutes left. And Mike McIntyre, the Winnipeg Free Press, in fact, who was covering the game remotely, suggested exactly what you were saying. Is that Hustler trying to start the wave right now? And all I did was quote tweet that and said, live bet the Jets right now. And I said to my buddy Bruce that I was sitting with in the third period, I'm like, Bruiser, the Jets are winning this game 100%. I'm telling you right now, you cannot do this. This is the worst juju you could possibly have in a tight game. And listen, I get it. I know I'm accused of being a crusty old fart sometimes when I have these wave takes. But to me, the wave take is a victory lap. You do it when it's over. If everyone wants to have a good time and it's 5-1 in the last 5 minutes,
have at her.
Go nuts. But with 5 minutes left in a 2-2 hockey game, attention needs to be put on the product in front of the ice because the game is in chance. And as I said, after that, there was I had a very strange level of confidence, even with what the Oilers throw at you, that the Jets were going to somehow find a way to get 2 points. And man, a big 2 points. I mean, listen, for both of those teams who were 1-3 going in, I think it wasn't the worst thing for them to get to OT. But as I say, I mean, I was just looking over and going, well, where the hell is McDavid?
I know.
I thought, it's weird. They put Leon out without him. Well, obviously they're going to be putting Connor out next, and then he wasn't there. I mean, that's all anyone needed to say when it came to maybe he's hurt. Well, for sure. And I guess it's a real bummer for the upcoming event next weekend. No McDavid in the Heritage Classic, kind of taking a bit of the steam out of a signature NHL event.
Major buzzkill, and we're waiting. The Oilers are going to be on the ice here right away for practice. We'll see exactly what type of line combinations they're looking at. Now, it's not the end of the world simply because it looks like it's only going to be 1 to 2 weeks. I mean, if you roll it out here, that is going to be 1 to 2 months. That might be a little bit of a different situation. So I think people are trying to stay positive. You know what we're trying to put on this today, Huss? The old classic positive spin. Like, maybe this is a good thing for the Edmonton Oilers to actually have some other guys decide that they need to contribute and turn this season around, because it's not like they've been winning games even with McDavid in the lineup. They've got 3 of a possible 10 points to start the year. You always want McDavid in your lineup, but maybe this will get Kane going. He was already bitching about ice time. Maybe this will get Hyman going even a little bit more. Maybe Dylan Holloway gets an opportunity because of this and can make the most of it. So, it's not insanely long term. You'd feel better about this if they were 4-1 and you had to be without McDavid for 10 to 14 days. But at the same time, we talk so often about McDavid taking up 25, 26, 27 minutes. Well, somebody else go out there and actually prove that you deserve to be involved a little bit more when he's on the ice, right?
Well, I was going to say the Natural's available to play a little bit more. We heard as much from him after the second period in that game, after he decided to fight with Brendan Dillon. And that was sort of it was humorous in a way that, like, it didn't really seem like there was much happening between those players beforehand.
No.
I didn't really see Dillon do anything. And then Evander basically just said he was screwing around. I wasn't playing very much. I figured I'd go get in a fight. And Evander was doing well. And then Dillon with the big comeback at the end, a couple solid shots that ended up on top of them. And then you saw them; they were just laughing about it in the penalty box afterwards.
Somebody on Twitter has said, someone should ask McDavid what his thoughts are on the wave during a 2-2 tie. I don't know if you want to ask that in that room right now. Probably not a good time to do it. That's like a after practice joking around kind of question that maybe somebody could get to. That might be the best way to go about doing that. But a huge win for Winnipeg. I mean, Edmonton will take the point. They obviously wanted more than a point, but we said both teams extremely desperate coming into that game, and that's a needle mover for the Jets, right? They had to have that.
Well, and listen, I mean, it was, much like, the Oilers, when things are down, they look to 97, their best player, to make things happen for Edmonton. Connor Hellebuck was that dude on Saturday night. I mean, it didn't start well. I mean, Mason Appleton lost his guy. Nurse rolls in with an absolute cannon from the slot. And then Bouchard does very similar thing, I believe, on a power play.
Yeah.
From that moment on, Hellebuck reminded everybody why he won a Vezina, why he was a Vezina finalist last year, and held the team in the game, because the Oilers did still have, at one point the shots were 20-6 for Edmonton. The Jets had a much better second period and closed that, but then a couple power plays. That's all you really need to give Edmonton. They'll get their shots on net, and they hit the 40 mark. So Hellebuck was awesome. And, I was talking to you, and I guess the guys that I was with, Bunting and the guys, just about Hellebuck and what an interesting dude he is, and why he's always been my favorite guy to interview or just to listen to. If you missed especially Jet fans, if you missed the Hockey Night in Canada after hours interview with Hellebuck after the game, obviously I didn't see it in real time, but I've watched it a couple times afterwards. One of the more interesting and fun interviews you'll see. So check that out if you want a little bit more on the top dog in Winnipeg, Connor Hellebuck, who was a huge part of that big win.
I was watching after hours. It was great. I thought it was absolutely terrific. It's like the Zach Hyman of Winnipeg. Like Zach Hyman says, he's a children's author. He runs a gaming company. Like, I like these guys who have so much more going on, right, than just going out and trying to shoot a puck or stop a puck. And I don't think there's enough of those guys, or at least there's not enough of those guys around the league who are willing to share what other interests and passions they have, you know?
Well, Hellebuck has no filter. Listen, at 365 days a year, you ask him a question and he'll give you an honest, thoughtful answer. You combine that with the weirdness that is part of most goalies, but very much there with him at times. And you'll always get something interesting coming out of him. And you know what the other funny thing was? And I know Winnipeg gets a bad rap, the city, and how do guys stay there? How do they keep guys? We all remember that Dustin Byfuglien re-signed with the Winnipeg Jets. And Buff, in a way, I think we learned from that interview, unintentionally, I think has sort of become a guy that's been a big influence in getting some of the other players to stay. Hellebuck told the story about how Buff would take him ice fishing early on. And That's one of those things you're not doing in California, PLD. Sorry. So, anyways, a lot of neat outdoor stuff, and I'm hoping that. I mean, Iafallo is big into that sort of stuff too. And man, he's been good. I mean, he got moved up to that top line after a couple rough shifts for Appleton with Shifley and Connor early on, and that made a big difference. So, yeah, it was fun. But listen, we are sort of burying the lead. The ride with Huss cashes plus
Nice.
640 yesterday, 3 for 4 of the picks. And the one pick that I had of the 4 that was the damn Commanders. And they were right there to tie that game very, very late. So it was a good day, but Philly comes through last night. And the only way this weekend could have been better, Dusty, was the game that you were calling. If the Elks could have just covered the 11 points. I was a little surprised, and maybe you can speak to that. Obviously, I was following the game, heading into Rogers Arena. But the Bombers certainly did not call the dogs off in that game.
No, they did not. I mean, this is the thing. Like, Zach played way longer than I thought he was going to play. He went 3 quarters. Dembski got banged up. Looked like, he left. He went to the room, came back out, got his 1,000-yard season, then kind of shut her down. And then, I said it straight up, and we'll see Drew Brown this week, I would assume. I don't know why they would start Zach this week at all. But you're going to see, like, Drew Brown comes in and just attacks down the field immediately. Like, Drew Brown, I think he's got 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in limited time this year. I don't know what his contract status is, but if you're one of these teams looking to get a quarterback and actually give him some legitimate run, I mean, I also don't know what Zach got left. Maybe 3 years. If he stays healthy, three good years still. Drew Brown can play, man. Drew Brown, and now maybe part of that system is amazing. But I knew even if they had Drew Brown in this game that, they were going to continue to put up points. Edmonton, we had Edmonton on the Oilers screwed our Edmonton Sports Talk parlay because we had the Golden Bears minus 6.5, Edmonton over 18.5 points against the Bombers, and then just the Oilers money line. So that one stung. But there was a couple of plays, like Purifoy basically had a pick 6 where it was thrown, he hopped all over it, and he dropped it. He would have taken that one back 80 yards the other way. Mind you, first kick return for Edmonton in 8 years, even remotely got them kind of close and hanging around. They always just sort of, they weren't in it, but they weren't necessarily out of it until Brown kind of put them away in the fourth quarter. The other 2 hit. The Riders are a god-awful mess. There's got to be some significant change there. But they managed to cover for us, which was nice.
Well, that was the thing. I'll be honest. I was out with a Wannock on Friday night, and I couldn't believe the Calgary-BC game. I mean, Calgary just went and absolutely – and BC said, hey, we're playing this. Like, we intend to put the pressure on the Bombers. And by halftime, they had completely reversed course and just said, VA, get the hell out of this game. We're obviously going to be seeing these guys again in a couple weeks here. And then Saskatchewan, like – they actually played pretty well for a good portion of that game. It was almost the perfect scenario. They cover for the partner parlay, but still lose. So we here in Winnipeg, and I'm sure you guys in Alberta get all the fun storylines for CFL fans about the Riders going back-to-back seasons, not winning a game after Labor Day and losing 7 straight. But it did take a little, I mean, to be honest, that's what made me nervous about the Bomber game. Like, if you had told me when we were cranking out the partner parlay, when we took those 3 underdogs,
that there was nothing.
The game that I think I was the most confident about was Edmonton, because I didn't think that I thought there was a chance that the Bombers wouldn't care too much about that game. And I thought that Edmonton was sort of, they've got a couple games left to kind of move on into next year. And I thought that they would be better, but it does set up a pretty interesting Super Saturday here in Winnipeg on the 11th of November, Remembrance Day, with a Jet game and a Bomber game kind of back to back right now. We're going to see whether they can do anything about that start time for the Jet game. I think it's right now scheduled for 3 p.m. and then the Bombers are 5:30. Manitoba laws on Remembrance Day, nothing can open or serve until 1 o'clock. So
really?
I don't think they can move it to 1 because you couldn't have any concessions or anything open. So maybe even an hour would facilitate people jumping out of the Jet game, and then you're just getting straight down to IG Field. But
that'll be a wild day, buddy.
Yeah, it will.
That's a long shift for you, dude.
Yeah, no doubt. Oh, by the way, Dusty, the power of EST in the lock shop. I got to give a shout out to Tyler and a few people that actually came up to me at the Oiler game for pictures and whatnot.
Yes.
Hustler, you're here. I'm like, wow. And a couple Jet fans as well that follow Winnipeg Sports Talk from Fort McMurray. So it was fun. It wasn't quite the King of Kensington routine I sometimes get at Canada Life Center, but a lot of familiar faces, and it was great to meet some of those people. But yeah, lots of fun on a quick little whirlwind out in your town, and we will definitely have to get the gang together again. Whether Remus and I come out for a few days out there,
Yeah.
maybe get you guys out here sometime. The Oilers are playing, and do a little bit more stuff together. But it was great to see Matt, and unfortunately, you and LTE were on the road. Oh, and of course, I had a little late night dream date with Tommy Gazzola.
What a lucky guy. You realize we auction those off for thousands of dollars here, hey? Like in Edmonton Sports Talk. You want to hang out with Tommy? It's $2,000, Huss. We're going to send you an invoice.
You know what? I had to wade through about a dozen women that were all just trying to get through. Hey, Tom, oh my God, Huss, you're here. Well, the funny thing is, if you do look at that picture that I posted, whatever, having a good time towards the end of the night, if you zoom in on Tom's incredibly stylish timepiece, you look and see it says like it's 10-3 at the time. Hey, it was a late game. Full
experience. Full experience for Huss here at Edmonton. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so yeah, we hit on the Canadian Football League. A quiet night in the NHL tonight. Just one game in the National Hockey League. I don't know why the National Hockey League has 32 teams and roll out one game. I mean,
I'll tell you why. Because tomorrow's Super Tuesday.
And everybody's playing.
Every single team, and that is the day where they're staggering the games by 15 minutes throughout the entire day.
Oh.
So we've got a 7:45 game here in Winnipeg. I'm not sure what time the Oilers are playing, but check the schedule.
I'm gonna take a peek at this thing right now. So
I bet it's not the normal time.
Okay, so
tomorrow,
yeah,
which for Tuesday, we got to do some. Like we got to do an NFL style best bets show for tomorrow's NHL card on the Lock Shop tomorrow.
Yeah, this is interesting. So I'm just looking at Edmonton time zone. Toronto, Washington, 4:00. Ducks, Jackets, 4:30. Buffalo, Ottawa, 4:45. Carolina and Tampa, 5:00. Dallas and Pittsburgh, 5:30. Oilers or Habs and Devils, 5:15. 5:30, 5:45, 6:00, 6:15, 6:30, 6:45. Oilers game is the 7:00 game, 7:15, 7:45. Huh. This is the first time they've ever done this, right?
Yeah.
This
is kind of neat. You know how there's so many people that are bitching about, oh my God, there's 5 games and they all start at the same time. It's great. We can all watch the intermission at the same time. I don't know why this is a new thing that people are complaining about it. However, I'm completely here for it for tomorrow. I think this is going to be great.
That'll be a fun day.
We're going to be able to stagger our picks, our games. We'll get to put together a few. We should almost do a partner parlay. We should do a ride with Dusty, a ride with Hosper tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just treat it like an NFL Sunday with the entire league going at it. And I think tomorrow will be a very, very fun hockey show in the Lock Shop.
Quickly, just Habs and Sabres tonight. I mean, anything on this game? We'll get to a full recap here of the National Football League. Pat's going to join us in about 20 minutes, and we'll dive into the Monday Nighter as well. I mean, we can hit on this very quickly and then slide over to the baseball, too, because it's a huge, huge day in the AL and NLCS as well.
Yeah, you know it. Listen, I'm high on Buffalo. They haven't had a great start. I think Comrie got the win on Saturday night, if I'm not mistaken. I know Comrie's starting tonight. They gave Devin Levi those first 4 starts, and it did not go well for the youngster. So UPL's been in. They're carrying 3 goalies. Comrie's getting the start. I'll say this about Comrie. Is he NHL starter level goaltender? Probably not as much as he's a
Can he do in a pinch?
The thing is that he has been known to sit on the bench for a long time and then to come out and play well. And listen, this is a big opportunity. He signed a 2-year deal last year. I think he can read the room. Levi is the guy of the future. They've got UPL, who's younger. Everything sort of conspires that he is the third goaltender right now. So he's only going to get a few opportunities, I think, to show where he's at right now. And I think that'll be a big, big factor in whether he maybe ends up getting more ice time somewhere else as a regular in the NHL right now. So, listen, it's minus 182. The Sabres, despite the way that they played kind of overall, Tage Thompson only has 1 point on the season. We've only seen him. But I will say this, player goals, speaking of due, Tage Thompson plus 109. I think I'll be looking at that number tonight against the Montreal Canadiens. And I wouldn't even be adverse to maybe seeing a guy like that pop out. So
I say plus 490 for 2. Yeah.
Plus 490 for 2 as well. I'm not sure I'm going to get so aggressive to drop the Hattie at 18-1. But this is this sounds like a get right situation for a guy like Tage Thompson. So as much as I like Buffalo, I probably won't lay the minus 182, but I think I'm going to go to a goal prop for Tage Thompson tonight.
Somebody in the nasty chat. Oh, yeah. Mark says Buffalo puck line tonight. That would be minus 1.5 at plus 134. Okay. You can find all of these over at coolbet.com. If you're not yet signed up for an account at Coolbet, I mean, I don't even know how it's possible with how much we're talking about Coolbet here at Edmonton Sports Talk, but use the code LOCKSHOP when you do. One word, LOCKSHOP, you get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit. Coolbet exclusives, they're up there. There's MLB exclusives, NHL exclusives. You'll also find our Edmonton Sports Talk parlay that's up. That's Phillies minus 1.5 and the Niners minus 6.5 against the Vikings tonight at plus 350. Huss, that kind of ties us into the Phillies and the NLCS plus the ALCS tonight. Where are you at right now? I know you cashed the Astros a couple of times last week, a perfect 5-0 week with the plays of the day, which puts so much pressure on me to hammer out a Monday banger to get started. And I haven't locked that in yet. I'll send it to the boys after the show today. So I'll probably go something on the National Football League game tonight. But where are you at on these two series right now?
Well, I mean, I still believe in the Astros. I know it's just bizarre. The road team is 6-0 in the ALCS. The home team has not won a game yet.
That is ridiculous.
So, it's been amazing for betting. I mean, if you've been on the right sides, you've been getting plus money, basically. I guess the last couple games, the Astros were a short underdog at like minus 104. But Scherzer is apparently starting for Texas. He got rocked in his last start. And again, that was the first time that he'd been back after being out for better part of a month and a half. So I'm riding with the Astros. I think this kind of goes back to my pick with them when they were down 2-0 in game number 3. I think they've just got too much experience, playoff pedigree in that room. And they've proven it already with their backs against the wall, down 2-0, the way they played in Texas. I think it's very unlikely that we'll see a road team win every single game. So I'm going to roll with Javier. I believe he's on the mound, and the Astros at minus 128. And I kind of feel like it's the Phillies' time. I know it's not really sexy taking both money line home favorites in this one. But to me, the Phillies just have so much power. They're going to be back in that crowd.
The crowd's going to be nuts.
Absolutely bananas tonight. And I don't think this one needs to go any further. I kind of think that we'll have a World Series set tonight. It'll be the Astros against the Phillies, and probably everyone, unless you have a real hate on for Philly for other reasons, I think a lot of people will be going for the Bombers from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, cheering for the Phillies for sure, if that does end up being the matchup. Northside Sandwich in the nasty chat says, hey, is AHL guy around today? And Utah says, I don't think, has AHL guy showed up since the winter? No, we haven't seen AHL guy yet, right? So he came in, realized we have a show. So is this daily? Oh, cool. I'll check it out. Boom, here's an AHL winner, delivered, and has not been back since. It's really a big-time move. Huss, go ahead.
I was just thinking, it wasn't even just like take this team. It was just an over. Bridgeport Sound Tigers and Providence, over 5.5. You're welcome. I'm out.
Nailed it. This broke just as we were doing the lock shop here. The Riders have announced that Craig Dickinson will not have his contract renewed, but they have also announced an extension and a new contract for their general manager, Jeremy O'Day. So O'Day gets a new deal. Dickinson's out. O'Day gets to hire another coach. And I don't know if anything's been said about Craig Reynolds, who I guess would have made this decision on O'Day. So I'm assuming Reynolds is going to be safe as well. But your thoughts on the Riders maintaining the top-end brass and deciding a new coach is going to be the solution?
I don't think that. Well, I mean, a new coach is a start.
It had to happen.
But listen, I mean, from what I have heard from Rider fans online.
They're not going to like this.
No, this is not. I don't think this is going to satisfy them. And listen, that was the lowest crowd in, I think, the new stadium ever on Saturday against the Argos. There's a lot of people, I think, that have lost faith in the direction of the Saskatchewan Rough Riders right now. So I was kind of expecting that the board would go in and completely clean house, but I guess they're only they're going halfway. I mean, a new coach is a start, and that's a guy that can have a lot of I think that he can have a huge effect on it. But again, if this is the team that Jeremy O'Day has built for the last couple years, how much confidence do you have that he's going to build a team that, regardless of the head coach, is going to be able to be much better than they were this season? Not too sure, but they've got a long time to think about it while the other 6 teams go to the playoffs.
That's a really good point. All right, let's flip over to the National Football League. We'll get to Pat in just a second. He's going to help join us for the Monday Nighter. Huss, I mean, just first of all, your thoughts on, I mean, the Chiefs win again, the Detroit Lions, a game that Dan Campbell says is not the end of the world, gives you a chance to refocus and get everybody back on track, which I kind of agree with. But with that being said, Dan Campbell could tell me to jump off a bridge, and I go jump off the bridge, and I hate jumping off bridges, so I'm not sure I could do that either. But what stood out for you yesterday around the National Football League?
Well, as I said, I took an early flight so I could get back in time for the Chiefs game. I got off at about halftime. I landed and immediately got my phone on and looked and saw the Lions were down 35-0.
Oh yeah.
And listen, I mean, we talked about that game. I thought this is a really tough spot for Detroit. I didn't put Baltimore on the best bets, but we were considering it. I knew there was a lot of support for Detroit within yourself and the other guys. So I know we had it on. That was, listen, the how badly they lost, I think, was a shock. But Baltimore's a good team right now. That entire NFC North, what did we talk about earlier on going in?
I know.
Cincinnati's in last at 3-3 right now. Baltimore's winning. That Cleveland Indy game just refused to end yesterday. I thought the Colts got jobbed personally. I'm not sure how many people watched the end of that. There was a couple calls on that last Cleveland drive, and then they get 1st and goal. They pass 3 times without really even coming close to a touchdown, and then realize, well, I guess we've got Kareem Hunt. We'll give it to him on 4th down, and he gets in. So that was a tough way for the Colts to lose. A big win for the Browns. And then, I mean, the Deshaun Watson conversation is a whole nother thing. Like, I don't know where that leaves him. Like, they cleared him. He played for a bit. He stunk. And then our guy, XFL MVP, PJ Walker, back out there leading the Browns to another victory. So it was the early side wasn't great. I started off 0-1 with Washington losing to the Giants. But then after that, pretty much everything came through. Seahawks won. I guess my 2 best bets was Pittsburgh. And we'll talk. I'm looking forward to seeing what Pat has to say about Pittsburgh, because we had quite a conversation on Friday about the Steelers. And I put them on the best bets. I'm like, it was 3, now it's 3.5. This team finds a way to be in these games, and even more with Mike Tomlin, never mind covering, winning. And they did it again behind that defense. TJ Watt making a massive play. So love that Pittsburgh game. And the Chiefs game was bizarre. Mahomes had over 300 yards passing at the half. Herbert was going like crazy. And then the third quarter started and the game completely changed. And there was more defense. There was punting and whatnot. And obviously, the Chiefs got that win. So it did put me into a very listen, we needed the Eagles -2.5 in the Sunday Nighter to cash the ride with us, and that was a wild game. I mean, Philly was up, then they let Miami back in. The bad pick by Hurts, all of a sudden the game's tied. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. But listen, credit to Philly, they have not looked really good doing it, and of course they had that loss last week, but they flexed their muscles in that fourth quarter and took over that football game. And listen, I think Miami's still a threat, but we've seen what Miami's done against top teams. They got swacked by Buffalo. They lost by 14 last night. still has a little bit of work to do on the defensive side of the football, and good defenses challenging Miami has been problematic. So overall, a great Sunday, and I'm looking forward to this Monday nighter tonight.
All right, let's bring in Pat Gregoire, who joins us. Do you think we were going to be talking about the Steelers right off the top, Patty?
No, there's another team which I'm surprised you're not opening with, and I'm not going to complain. So let's get into the Steelers. Huss, you're spot on with your analysis in terms of the way that they find ways to win, but I'm still standing on top of this mountain. This is a hill I'm willing to die on. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not a good football team, and their defense is not good. They just have guys on the team, most notably TJ Watt, that find ways to make plays and come up in the big moments. Tomlinson, yes, shame on me for betting him as an underdog. I talked about just how insane his cover rate is since even past when
you cited the stat.
I pulled it
before
up
picking against them.
I said it didn't matter. Throw it out. They're garbage, but they're proving me wrong. But when you look at it, they have given up the third most yards per game in the National Football League. Only the Broncos, who we talked about it ad nauseum, being one of the most historically bad defenses, the LA Chargers, who can't stop anything, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, 383.5 yards, but they only had given up 21.2 yards, 2 points per game. You're right. They have these guys that step up.
Hey,
Tomlinson's coached this team up.
You know why they're giving up all the yards? Is because their offense can't get a damn first down, and they're on the field for 40 minutes a game, and then somehow find a way to force field goals, or get the turnover and turn the thing around. Listen, I'm with you. Like, I don't think the Steelers are any sort of a threat, but on a week-to-week basis in the NFL, yesterday's a perfect example. We're gonna go through this Steelers game schedule at the end of the season from a betting standpoint and a win-loss perspective, and look and go, how the hell did they win this game? How the hell did they cover this game? No idea how they won this game, but they did. Yesterday was another example of it. The Monday nighter against Cleveland earlier this year, another perfect example of it. And I don't know how they're doing it, but they're 4-2 right now.
I know.
And if this continues, they actually might be a team that's in the mix for a wild card.
They definitely are going to be in the mix if they keep it up, and as they should. They, despite how inept they are offensively, like you said, and again, yardage defense, but they find ways to hold teams, bend don't break. Like, how true is it with this Steelers defense? They are a minus 24 in net points. Like, they are minus 24 in points differential, yet they still hold a 4-2 record and are very much in the hunt. Probably not for the division, because I think we're starting to see the Ravens catch form here, but let's not forget the Ravens also lost to the Steelers. That's one really impressive game. I was on the Lions. I was very, very, very I shouldn't say I wasn't very sold on this Ravens team. Still not sold. I still think you got to see more from this offense. But if Lamar Jackson can play the way like he did yesterday, no doubt they should be walking away with the NFC North. But we've talked about it so many times. This division, whenever they go toe-to-toe against each other, they play great games. So Ravens, yeah, I think they're putting themselves in the conversation for one of the best teams in the AFC East. It's kind of like outside of the Chiefs, which we talked about how their schedule hasn't been very tough, but they're 6-1. They're winning ways. Their defense is strong. Besides that, like, is there really another team that scares you in the AFC? This is not the AFC that we've seen from the past few years where you're like, man, it's going to be a meat grinder trying to get out of this conference. Like, there really aren't a ton of teams. I mean, we got to talk about the AFC East. I know, right? And the Miami Dolphins are frauds. Not talking about the Bills just yet.
The Miami Dolphins are frauds. Wow.
Are frauds. Listen.
Classic Bills fan. Love
it. They beat up on really bad teams. But when push comes to shove against these, and this was the Bills defense before they got banged up and before they turned into a pumpkin. But look at just the way that the Eagles were able to bully this offense. They had -7 rushing yards in the first half. Does that change?
Oh, the Bills Mafia. The Bills Mafia just went and unplugged Pat. They did not want to talk about their performance.
Let me just say, hey, just hang on. Hey, Maddie, Patty froze. We'll get that fixed up. This is a live broadcasting right here. Patty froze. I don't know if I have to reconnect.
I got back to my Sunday home, Dusty, as you're familiar with, down at the Confusion Corner with the boys, and we're paying attention to a bunch of the games. And listen, by the time because we had Detroit on, I mean, there was no suspense whether the partner parlay with the fellas was going to come in because of the Detroit game. But I was quite interested on that Bills game just in general from an AFC standpoint. And, they were down by 2 scores with about 5 minutes left. They come back and get it. I'm like, oh my God, the Patriots are just like, they did it again. Kind of start watching one of the other ones. Then I turn around and all of a sudden Gesicki's in the end zone. I'm like, what the hell just happened? A late touchdown by New England, and they got a win. And that's what an opportunity it was for Buffalo there in the division, knowing what Miami had last night, and vice versa. Big opportunity for Miami in a game that they were only a short underdog to really take control. I mean, both of them sort of just lost. And who was the big winner yesterday in the AFC East? The New York Jets. They didn't even play. And both of the teams ahead of them lost big games right now. It is going to be an interesting division as we keep going.
Well, look, let's look at the Bills here for a second, because when Patty reconnects, if he reconnects, he might just be not wanting. The chat's accusing him of not wanting to chat about the Bills. So he
unplugged his own computer.
Yeah, no, he didn't. He just froze like this. He didn't move again. That was it. He just froze. No, but here's the Bills. They lose to the Jets. They beat the Raiders. Whoopity-doo. They crushed the Commanders. Meh. They beat the Dolphins big time. So, I mean, that was a really nice win. They lose to the Jags overseas. They barely get by the Giants. And now they lose to the New England Patriots. Like, that is not an impressive 4-3, Huss. That's a very average 4-3.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, and you think about the game that they won last week against the Giants. I mean, that was by the Bills the Bills win over the Giants was the first time in NFL history where a team had been outrushed, outpassed, given up more turnovers. And one other thing, in the history of a team that had done that, they were 0-134 before the Bills won that game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever. I said after that game, they didn't look right. Josh Allen didn't particularly look right. And it seemed like they bailed themselves out again. And then they didn't when Gesicki got that touchdown.
Pat is going to join us. I don't necessarily want to move away from this game because we got to keep it going. Maddie is reloading him back into the system. He's going to pop back on the line because, Pat, there's no way you can just unplug your webcam and think we're not going to bring you back to talk Bills. My goodness, man.
What I'm saying, I'm not sold on the Dolphins. And was it a little tongue-in-cheek and trying to take away distraction on the Bills? 100% it was, because let's be honest, the Bills find a way to tackle anyone on that last drive. All of a sudden, they're in the driver's seat for this division that, after all, doesn't really look as good as everyone thought it was going to be. If Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the Jets, they probably run away with this division. I'm not sure. This is crazy for me to say. The Jets might be the best team in this division right now.
Let's stop. Come on.
No.
That's where we're at.
I'm dead serious. I am dead
serious.
This
is Bills fan on tilt. Mind you, you did lose to the Jets. So
the Jets defense is so legit. If they have any sort of competent quarterback play, which they've been getting sometimes out of Wilson, I think this is a team that can make noise in the playoffs. Yes, again, am I being a little bit tongue-in-cheek? Absolutely. But they're a team that gives good offenses a ton of fits. And I honestly, to get to the Bills, because we got to get to the Bills, I know this is a broken team. This is a team, maybe they're just not that good of a football team. Maybe they're not as good as we thought. It all stems, I shouldn't say it all stems, but we'll start with the defense. When the offense wasn't playing well this year, it was the defense that would step up. They had a big time bend, don't break mantra to the team. Always coming up with big plays, big stops, holding teams to threes, getting some turnovers when they need it. That is not happening right now with too many guys, too many impact players all over the field. Matt Milano was having a career year. He's out for the year. Trey White, another season-ending injury for him. He's done. He might be done for good. We don't know if he's ever going to come back. And if he does, how is he going to be? Multiple players on the D-line also injured. Von Miller, I think, only took 12 snaps yesterday. He's not even close to being where he needs to be. The injuries are just mounting, and teams are finding ways to expose this lack of depth. On the offense, I've said it before multiple times. Ken Dorsey is not the guy for this team, and he's certainly not the guy for Josh Allen. Look what Brian Daboll was able to unlock with Josh Allen. Look what he was able to do with the offense. Even look at Tyrod Taylor yesterday with the Giants. He was, from all the indications, he completely was taking over the offense yesterday. And I'm not saying Tyrod Taylor is the answer in New York, but he looked pretty good yesterday. Daboll and what Allen were able to do 2 seasons ago, that was a special connection. Since Dorsey's come in, he has completely taken away any sort of creativity and that killer instinct that you see from Josh Allen. Yes, is he going to make 2 or 3 bonehead mistakes per game? 100%. But he's going to make 3 or 4 or 5 plays where your jaw's going to hit the floor and say, wow, this kid is special. You look at the numbers, I don't have them in front of me. Year after year since Dorsey's taken over, his rush yards have gone down significantly. And yeah, I get it. You don't want him taking some of those hits and those licks that he's taken over the last couple of years. Josh Allen is a golden retriever. He's a dog that needs to go out for a nice long walk. You need to throw the ball with him in the backyard. But at the and you love him. But that golden retriever, he might get into the garbage from time to time. You know what? He might poop on the carpet, but that's okay because you love the guy and he's going to love you back. And he is a special player. But when you don't take that dog out for a walk, you don't throw the ball with him, you just allow him to be an indoor dog and keep him on the couch and don't let him take those chances. Don't let him go out and have fun. He just becomes sad. And Huss, you said it, 2 weeks ago? He doesn't look like Josh Allen. When was the last time you seen him on the sidelines screaming, "Let's go"? Big celebrations in the end zone. This guy has been neutered.
Speaking of let's go, let's go. He's been waiting to go. He's been waiting to take a piss for 3 hours. No one let him out. No one, he even couldn't have run around in the backyard at all.
He's been waiting to take a piss for 3 hours.
That's just not right. Anyways, I mean, that division's interesting. I mean, the Chiefs have pretty much clinched the AFC West already. That's going to be happening very soon, almost in record time. But the big winners of that weekend was the New York Jets, and they didn't even play.
Yep.
And they got the Giants next week, a road game in their home stadium. So the Jets aren't in such a bad spot right now. But guys, hey, let's quickly before I got to run.
Yeah, let's dive into this
one tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this line am I the only one who thinks this line should be bigger? Like, I get it. There's some uncertainty. Debo's not playing. We just found out that CMC is going to
McCaffrey is going to play, but how much, right? Like, how much are they going to go to him? Yeah.
How is this only a touchdown? Like, no JJ on the other side for the Vikings. The Vikings, outside of a really close game against the Chiefs a couple weeks ago, what leads you to believe that this team, I get it, maybe it's at home, it's a short week. I thought this was going to be a much bigger line. I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading into this. I think this should be a bigger spread than 7 or even 6.5. What it's been.
Yeah, it was 6.5 this morning on our show. I see it's sitting at 7 right now. Huss, where do you come out on that number, buddy?
Well, I think a lot of people are thinking the same thing, and that's why we've got it now to 7. And I'm sort of with you. I mean, there's a bunch of things that would suggest San Fran, and I've been on San Fran on the road as well as favorites, covering numbers all year long. You add in Kirk Cousins, primetime Kirk, a little different than noon on Sunday Kirk, and you would think that this is an auto bet for the Niners. I'm actually going with the Vikings.
I was gonna say, is there a butt coming here? What's this butt?
There is a
You
butt.
knew there was a butt coming.
There is a butt coming up here. Listen, obviously 7 points. I'd love to get more than 7. And there is the potential, which, I mean, this isn't a real strong play. There won't be a huge piece on it, but I do think that there is a scenario where the Niners just look exactly like they have the entire time without Deebo Samuel, with a nicked up McCaffrey, and they go in and take care of it. I kind of think that they might manage this game a little bit more, though, knowing that their defense is going to keep them in. I think they're just going to try and eliminate. Not that Brock Purdy's made very many mistakes this year. I mean, give him credit for what he's been doing. But I think with the weapons being, a little bit diminished for him, I think there's the potential for a closer game. The Dome will be rocking. I mean, it will be a great crowd. I mean, the Vikes will have that behind them, although I'm sure there'll be a bunch of Niner fans in the stadium, as you get for these primetime games. And I'll say this about Kirk Cousins. Like, I know their record is what it is. That record could easily be flipped. I mean, they were 0-3. They could have been 3-0.
He was great in those first 3 games. He was over like 1,000 yards in 3 games to start the year.
He totally was.
He did have JJ, though.
Yeah, since then he hasn't gone over 280. So
yeah, the loss of Jefferson. To me, this is this is basically on the Vikings. I mean, I think I'm going to take the home dog in the points. I know that will be a minority bet. I mean, I think the majority of the money is going to be coming in on San Francisco big time.
92%.
I don't mind that
right
position.
Now,
And when it comes to players, though, I think with Deebo Samuel, I'm looking at George Kittle tonight. And Kittle has a knack for coming up big. I mean, we remember the massive game that he had in primetime against the Dallas Cowboys. I think that he'll be used. I think his total for receptions is 4.5
at plus 100, which is just, I love it. I love it.
I'm in on that. And I'm also going to sprinkle on Kittle to get into the end zone at plus 175. And from a Vikings perspective, I'm going to take the over 4.5 on Jordan Addison. Like, I think we're going to see a situation where in all likelihood, the Niners sort of are controlling the game. And I think they're going to force Kirk to throw the football and try and figure it out. So I don't know about the yardage, because I do think that they may have to settle for more high percentage, shorter catches. But I think Addison is going to be that guy. And he has continued to get more comfortable, and Kirk Cousins has been getting more comfortable with him. So I'm going to take the over 4.5 Addison receptions, and I'm taking over 4.5 on Kittle. A Kittle touchdown, anytime touchdown at plus 175. Don't mind the first touchdown as well. I didn't look at the first touchdown numbers, but for first touchdowns, I wouldn't at all be. So what's Kittle at plus 900? Tight ends always seem to have a much better frequency of getting in first. So that's sort of where I'm going to go. And hopefully finish off a nice week, although the big win last night was the Eagles with the ride with Huss. And then, of course, tomorrow, we're already getting ready. Tomorrow's block shop is going to be like an NFL Friday, but for hockey, with 32 teams, all those games played, and maybe even have to talk a little DFS tomorrow too, because that is going to be a great day to put a couple lineups in as well.
It's not only that, fellas. If the Diamondbacks win tonight, it could be Game 7. And Dusty, I know you know this, but NBA tip-off, like tomorrow could be an all-time sports day, man.
Yes.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, Lakers and Denver Nuggets tomorrow, so that should be good. I'm looking forward to that as well. Huss, I know you got Winnipeg Sports Talk coming up. Patty and I will take some of your suggestions and put together a parlay here. What's on Winnipeg Sports Talk today, Huss?
Well, I mean, first off, thoughts with the Bonus family. Rick Bonus's wife apparently had a seizure last night. She's in hospital, so Bones is taking leave from the club. So obviously that's going to sort of be first and foremost on everyone's minds. But we'll be breaking down the Jets' big win in Edmonton, where I was the sleeper cell starting the wave to ensure a Jets comeback victory. And the Bombers getting ready for that West final. And I should shout out a bunch of lock shoppers that are also WSTers. We were nervous about that game, about the Elks actually winning once BC had won, and we weren't sure what the Bombers going. But hey, that's a team of winners. They win. We cash the 13 win prop at plus 200. So that's going to be in the accounts, everybody, very, very soon, getting ready for playoffs. But no, nice Sunday. We'll enjoy the Monday nighter, and then big, big day tomorrow. So we'll be breaking it all down on Winnipeg Sports Talk, and I will talk to you suckers tomorrow at noon Winnipeg time, 11 a.m. in E-Town.
See you later, buddy. There you go. That's us.
Thanks a lot.
Winnipeg Sports Talk coming up here right away. We got Oil Stream on the way. Quick Fantasy Football 5 coming up as well. As far as the parlay goes tonight, Patty, I was going to be on Addison over the 4.5 anyway. So when Huss brought it up, I love that. Just to add to his Kittle conversation, with Debo out and maybe a limited Christian McCaffrey, I mean, both of those things would point towards more going on with George Kittle there. So I like the Kittle over 4.5. I like the Addison over 4.5. Anything that jumps out to you there? I'm a little nervous about either side in this one, to be honest with you. The Vikings, in their 4 losses, they've not lost by more than 7. I think they've lost by 7 twice and then fewer than that. So, but at the same time, I have a hard time, going against the Niners in this spot. So is there another prop that you want to throw in here with the Addison and Kittle catch totals?
Well, it's funny. It's almost like he was reading my mind, because of the 3 players that I kind of circled in on the props, it was those 2 and then Brandon Ayuk. Like him in my primetime parlay, it's him for 4+ receptions, Bosa to get a sack, and then obviously the over 3.5 field goals. So that would be the other one there. Like I do feel like with Debo out, Kittle's going to be more involved, but I think the connection between Ayuk and
they do have a nice connection together. There's no doubt about that. He's a different player with Purdy at quarterback.
But then maybe do we look at Purdy? Do we look at Purdy for over 1.5 passing TDs? That's at plus 110 right now. Is that somewhere? Or,
that's
him completions over 20 completions at minus 133. I know that's a bit higher. But
I think I'd rather the 1.5 passing touchdowns, but
I like that one as well. I think even if CMC is at full strength, we've seen them not be afraid to use him out of the backfield catching passes. Like the way out, take away. I'd be curious to see his log. I don't know if you have it in front.
I have it right up. He's played 6 games. He's had 2 touchdowns twice, 4 touchdowns once, and then 3 games that would come in under that number. So it's kind of a 50-50 coin flip on that front.
Yeah, just for me, I really think that, again, they lose to the Browns. I think this is a big bounce back spot. Again, I have no interest in either the side, just because I think it's a fishy line.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good if you, but you already have the Bosa sack in your other one, right? So,
yeah. Total sacks is at 4.5. Do we want to throw total sacks both sides? Minus 139. We know Nick Cousins or Kirk Cousins been known to hold on to the ball pretty long. Vikings defense not afraid to get to the quarterback. Obviously, not nearly as much as the 49ers. We could do that there. It's kind of tough because Huss was pretty much on everything.
I know that's the thing
already.
Let me just see. I got some people in the nasty chat talking about TJ Hawkinson. I just gonna look. It's tough because we're already kind of on Addison in that situation as well. Hawkinson, I mean, he's been targeted a ton. Hasn't been in the end zone in 4 games.
Kirk Cousins interception minus 127.
It's never a bad idea, actually.
I mean,
like, let me go back to Kirk's game log here. Like, it is prime time. What's that number on the interception? Plus 127?
Minus 127.
He hasn't thrown an interception in his last 2 games. Has thrown interceptions in 3 of 6 so far. What was the Brandon Ayuk number? Where were we looking at with Ayuk? Because we have Addison, we have Kittle. What were we looking at with Ayuk?
His receptions is or his receiving yards 71.5 at minus 120. And his receptions right now, people are hammering this. 4.5.
Yeah, isn't that like -2 or something like that?
205. So
yeah. I don't know, man. Your call. What do you want to do?
Oh boy, I hate having this in my hands. I think I'm looking to the quarterbacks. I think I'm looking at either the 2 touchdown passes for Brocktoberfest, or we're going with Kirk Cousins throwing interception. Those would be my 2 leans.
Let's go with the Cousins pick.
Let's do it.
Primetime Kirk, man. Let's just do it. Cousins interception, Addison 4+, Kittle 4+. And that will be your lock shop partner parlay for today. Patty, as always,
10 interceptions. They have 10. I just looked it up. 49ers have 10 interceptions this year.
Woo!
So I like
Make it 11.
I like the numbers.
Make it 11.
There you go.
We like
Make
that,
it
buddy.
11.
We'll talk to you later in the week.
See you, Dusty.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football 5, brought to you by our great partners at Century Casino, Fort Road. Join Lieutenant Eric tonight. He will be there for the Monday. Give yourself a little bit extra time, obviously. The road's going to be a little slick tonight, but he will be there tonight for the Monday Nighter between the Vikings and the Niners. Stick around. Oil Stream coming up right away. We're going to take you right over. If you got autoplay on, you can stay right with us. We'll take you on over to the Oil Stream, which will be coming up here momentarily as well. I mean, take a look at some starts and sits tonight from as far as this game goes. And I mean, it's just really nothing. Look, you're starting Christian McCaffrey. You know you're starting Christian McCaffrey already. It would be tough if you were kind of waiting. Hopefully, you have one of these other guys handcuffed. I don't know what to do with the other 2 guys. This is like that Bijan Robinson thing where you're like, why are you even starting him if he's not going to basically play at all? Like, that was extremely frustrating over the weekend. Arthur Smith, you're dead to me. Kittle, Ayuk, obviously must starts. On the other side of the ball, Addison, you're starting. TJ Hawkinson, you're starting. There's not a lot of other sexiness when it comes to this game tonight. If you ever have any questions when it comes to fantasy, make sure you slide on into my DMs on Twitter or X or whatever, and we can get to a few of those. I am facing a dilemma in my one fantasy football league that I have not dealt with basically ever in this league. And my team's about to go to 1-6. I'm going to look for advice from all of you watching or listening today, and feel free to chime in here and tell me what I'm supposed to do with this team. Okay? Now, it's a 16-team league. We keep 5 guys. So the first round of our draft is usually like 6 guys who weren't kept, 6 guys who were fantasy rookies, basically. So I've got guys that I could possibly trade here. Aaron Jones, Amari Cooper, Terry McLaurin, maybe Kyle Pitts, CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins. I can only keep 5 guys. So it's time to mail this thing in. I mean, I'm not getting back in it. My team's become an absolute disaster this year. I'm extremely frustrated by it. I've got Anthony Richardson on the IR. Deshaun Watson's a mess. I feel like I keep CeeDee Lamb and T. Higgins. I keep Bijan Robinson. I keep Addison. And then I probably keep Pitts, tank hard, and draft a quarterback next year. So should I trade? Is it time to trade Aaron Jones, Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper, and possibly one of CeeDee Lamb or T. Higgins? Like, this is a tough spot. I've never been in this spot before. Chaz says, blow it up. Yeah, but that's easy to say. It's easy to say because it's not your team, right? But I like blowing things up. I've got a lot of picks being offered up right now, which would put me in a pretty good spot going into next year. But I thought I had enough picks this year to put me in a good spot. But I screwed up with this Deshaun Watson faith. One of the biggest mistakes I've made in fantasy football ever was believing that Deshaun Watson would have any sort of relevance at all moving forward. And now I'm regretting it. You know, I always like to say, stay calm and cool as you work your way through your season, however many fantasy leagues you're in, whether it's going bad. Not anymore. I'm a full-blown tilt in this one. I don't know what to do. Vetchkin the Great says, sell the farm. I mean, how far does it go? Do I move T. Higgins or CeeDee Lamb for more picks? I could probably come away with 6 first-round picks in this draft. I honestly don't even think that's unreasonable. Now, my keeper list might not be great, but it sure would be great walking into the draft, even though I have to always do the draft while I'm calling the Labor Day games. As I say, walk into this draft and throw my balls on the table and just be like, I'm here with 7 first-rounders. Let's go. That would be fun. Anyway, if you have any advice on this, slide on in. Tonight, you're starting McCaffrey. Purdy, I don't know, maybe Purdy. But you're starting McCaffrey. You're starting Kittle. You're starting Ayuk. You're starting Hawkinson. You're starting Addison. Kirk Cousins and Purdy are close to the same sort of spot for me. And if you are in a league where you're not overly deep at running back, or you're like in a deeper league, might have time for those other San Francisco running backs, but it's a little bit of a risky move. Dusty, move CeeDee Lamb and potentially keep Richardson, dual threat quarterback. Hopefully, when he's been healthy, he looked great this year, but he was only healthy like 1 out of the 4 games or whatever prior to getting hurt. So that was a tough one, no doubt about it. All right, that's going to do it for the Fantasy Football 5. We'll look at the waiver wire on tomorrow's episode, brought to you by Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Fort Road. Make sure you stick around. We've got a huge episode of the Oil Stream coming up as we dive into the Oilers not post McDavid, I shouldn't say that. We dive into the Oilers without McDavid for a small amount of time. Okay, we will get into that coming up right away here on the Oil Stream. Don't go anywhere.